Over the next 20 to 30 minutes, we're going to be hearing from the people who have to do the work in Congress to actually translate all of our requests and recommendations and demands into reality. I can say that every one of these people works as hard to try and get you stronger rights as we've worked from the outside. No matter how frustrated we are with the amount of time that it's taken to pass the Whistleblower Protection Enhancement Act, we owe a very deep debt of gratitude to these people who put in hundreds and hundreds of hours into trying to get that legislation enacted. After we hear from those folks, we're going to be having a talk by Steve Kohn from the National Whistleblower Center. Steve's here to give a unity message on why we all need to work together, getting stronger free speech rights. The first speaker is Lisa Powell. Lisa works for the staff director at the Homeland Security Subcommittee that's responsible for the WPEA. And her boss, Senator Daniel Akaka, is the marathon pioneer of getting this legislation. He started the work in 2000, and we're going to be giving him in his office a public servant award for his contribution to our community. But while he's been the marathon leader of the effort, Lisa is the marathon worker who is never loses her cool, is a consummate professional. The committee reports might as well be law review articles. They're so thoroughly researched. And she's in there giving it everything to try and get this done. Thanks.
Thanks. Thanks for inviting me. Senator Akaka sends his aloha. He's sorry he can't be here today. This is an issue he cares very deeply about. I want to thank you all for organizing and assembling, and I want to thank you for those of you who are whistleblowers, your courage in becoming whistleblowers. As Tom said in his kind introduction, I work for Senator Akaka, who's the chairman of the Senate Federal Workforce Subcommittee. He has worked on this issue for a very long time. He first introduced a bill to strengthen the Whistleblower Protection Act in 2000. The bill's evolved quite a bit since then, but it's a very high priority for him, and he is committed to getting it done. So we've been working very hard. I know it's very frustrating that it takes very long. It's frustrating to us too. This is a bill that actually, so the Bush administration, as you probably all know, had promised to veto the bill. And so that was sort of reason enough for Republicans to block it. The Obama administration now supports it, but that has some complications too, because when they're at the table, you have to negotiate with them. So we spent a lot of time last Congress coming up with a version that, while not perfect, satisfied the administration and satisfied those of us in Congress who care about the issue. We got very close to enacting whistleblower reform last Congress. The bill passed the Senate and the House, but in different forms. And it was right at the end of the session. There was a hold placed on the Senate bill preventing us from final passage. Senator Akaka has reintroduced the bill this year, in April of this year, with Senator Collins, Grassley, Lieberman, and others. It's a bipartisan bill. Representative Weiss is taking the lead in the House. On the Senate side, we went with a bill that's nearly identical to the Senate-passed bill from last year. We're hoping that sticking with the Senate-passed bill will help us move through the process more quickly. And then, I expect we'll have to negotiate with the House as well. We expect the bill to be marked up next month. There are a number of members of our committee who, particularly new Republican members, who, generally speaking, will not vote for any bill that has any score. So those of you working with conservative organizations to make the taxpayer conservative case on the bill, that will be really important, I think, to moving this bill forward. So a few things about the bill. I'm sure some of this has been discussed, but it's not perfect. I don't love every part of it. I'm sure you guys won't love every part of it either, but it does make huge strides forward in a number of ways. It would clarify the very broad scope of protected disclosures and close a number of loopholes that have been created over the years. It would allow whistleblowers access to federal district courts, although under somewhat limited circumstances. It would suspend the federal circuit's sole jurisdiction over whistleblower appeals for sort of a trial period of 5 years. It would provide whistleblower protections, statutory protections for TSA employees who are currently not covered under the Whistleblower Protection Act. It would clarify that disclosing scientific censorship is protected. It would prohibit non-disclosure agreements, gag agreements that don't contain a statement of whistleblower rights. And it would prohibit the enforcement of non-disclosure agreements in violation of whistleblower rights. It would provide a process to review security clearance revocations for the first time, and allow intelligence community employees to seek redress for whistleblower retaliation. I think the last panel covered a lot of this in good detail. I think there's a case to be made from any part of the political spectrum that protecting whistleblowers isn't just a matter of protecting the employees who have the courage to blow the whistle. It's a good government measure that is needed to protect taxpayers, to protect national security, to protect public health, to protect the environment, to protect just about anything the government is involved in, which is a lot. So, with strong bipartisan support for the bill, with the administration constructively engaged, I really believe this is a bill we should be able to get done, and that it's really critical that we commit to getting it done this Congress. So again, I just want to applaud all of the whistleblowers in the room for your courage and your service, and thank you all for the work you do to advocate for whistleblower protection.
Our next speaker, Scott Miller, works for Congressman Todd Platts. And when you walk into Representative Platts' office, you see a big poster, movie poster of Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. And it's very appropriate. Representative Platts was the final signer of the petition that led the passage of the McCain-Feingold campaign finance reform law. And after Connie Morello left, he was the first Republican in the House of Representatives to become a sponsor, pioneer sponsor of the Whistleblower Protection Enhancement Act. And through it all, Scott's been the person that we go to. And it's been a marathon commitment, and it's one that's been very, very badly needed. And we appreciate so much your commitment.
Thank you, Tom. It is very good to be here, and I appreciate the invitation. We regret that Congressman Platts couldn't be here himself. He is back home in Pennsylvania in the district for events and meetings up there. For those who don't know, we represent South Central Pennsylvania. So if you've ever been to Gettysburg, you've been in our congressional district. I want to thank Lisa also for her comments. We've been at this a long time, but Senator Akaka has been at it even longer. We actually began in 2003, as Tom was talking. Connie Morello was the sponsor, but when she left Congress, Tom came to our office to find a Republican sponsor, Republican who was serving on the Government Reform Committee. I am glad he did, because it has been a rewarding part of my job to be able to work on this issue. Frustrating at times too, since we haven't quite gotten it across the goal line, but rewarding nonetheless to work with Tom and with the whistleblower community here. I'm always hopeful because it seems like every session we get a little bit closer When we first introduced it, we did get the bill out of the Government Reform Committee by voice vote. Then the next session, we again got it out of committee, but there were some referrals to other committees who wanted to take a look at it. Following session, we got it through the House, if I recall correctly, and the vote was a overwhelming bipartisan vote of 331 to 94. So it shows that this is an issue that can cross party lines and ideological lines. Then, of course, last session we got very close to getting the bill through. It did pass different versions in the House and the Senate, but we got a bill through both chambers. We intend to keep at it and to remain involved and engaged in this issue. In the meantime, I just wanted to say thank you for your efforts to expose waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal government. It's never been more important with the fiscal challenges that we are facing. It's never been more important. I know it's also important to the work of the Oversight and Government Reform Committee and the work that James is doing over there. So once again, just thank you for your involvement in this issue. We need your support, and we greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Our third speaker is James Robertson. James is the person in the front lines for Chairman Darrell Issa to deliver this legislation. And I can say from personal experience that starting from scratch, he's been one of the hardest working students that anybody could hope to work with. And he's always accessible and pushing steadily ahead on getting a bill introduced imminently in the House that will have a consensus this time around. James?
Good morning, everyone. I'm sort of the new kid on the block, but Tom's been great and everyone else on the panel's been great, helping to get me up to speed. When I first came to the Oversight and Government Reform Committee about a year and a half ago, it was emphasized that this bill is a priority for Chairman Issa. He was then the ranking member, but this term he's emphasized the importance of getting this done. As a matter of fact, on his website, on the Oversight Committee, there's a whistleblower link that anyone can go to and fill out some paperwork and try to expose some waste, fraud, and abuse in the government. It's our mandate, something he feels very passionately about. So we've been working ever since January with the committees of jurisdiction to try to get a consensus bill that we won't have any opposition for on the floor. It's been a little bit of a slow process, but one that we're committed to doing. We're very close. I think probably in the next month or so we'll have a bill ready to go. But I don't want to have any timelines because that changes quite a bit around here. But we appreciate everything that you all are doing, and we're trying to also educate the 80+ new members of Congress that we have. It's a big task, and organizations like this and groups that go around to the Hill are very important to help get our message out. And we really appreciate everything that you all are doing, and wish you the best of luck in trying to get the message out this week on the Hill. And we're always a resource available to anyone if you have any questions, and of course Tom will be able to help be a mediator between that. So thank you all for everything, and hopefully we'll have something in a signing ceremony soon.
Well, we're deeply appreciative of the last three speakers from the front lines of Congressional staff to getting some rights. I'm just thrilled to be introducing Steve Kohn from the National Whistleblower Center. Steve and NWC don't need any introduction, but I do want to point out that Dave Calacano will be representing NWC this afternoon at the Continuing Legal Education on New Corporate Whistleblower Rights. And we'll be selling Steve's book. We won't be selling, but Steve's book will be available on corporate whistleblower survival tactics at Busboys and Poets at tonight's open microphone program. That's at 5th and M Northwest. Steve?
Thank you. First, I would like to thank the Assembly and the Make It Safe Coalition and GAP for organizing this event. It's badly needed. I also come bringing a thank you from Bunny Greenhouse. Many of you may know her as a whistleblower who fought for 6 years after losing her procurement position as the top procurement officer at Army Corps of Engineers after she blew the whistle on illegal multi-billion-dollar no-bid contracts to Halliburton. Just recently, we were able to successfully settle that case, and she won everything she was entitled to under law, close to $1 million settlement and full vindication for Bunny Greenhouse. And without the strong public support of many of you in this audience and around the country, we would not have been able to do that. She was able to prevail because she found some loopholes and technicalities that permitted her to escape many of the most reactionary provisions of the current Whistleblower Protection Act and how it's been interpreted by the Federal Circuit and other courts. The law, as I think most of you know, does not work and in fact acts as an impediment to whistleblowing most of the time. We are looking forward to working aggressively with every partner possible to get a strong reform bill passed this year. Unity is essential in order to get the job finally done after how many years? 12 years. We've got to get it done. And this is really what's at stake. When I started working on whistleblower issues about 28 years ago, whistleblowing was a good idea. There were some heroes out there like Karen Silkwood or Daniel Ellsberg or Ernie Fitzgerald. And we could look at examples and see that they did good, well. They really helped the public interest. But we have so changed since then. Organizations have conducted statistical surveys that are scientifically sound. They have hired professionals to examine how is fraud detected, whether you work in the government or the private sector. If you're serious about stopping fraud and waste, how do you do it? And the answer on every study has been employees. Employees see it. Fraud is designed to be hidden. Without the insider, the oversight groups, the inspectors, the regulators don't stand a chance. And they've worked it all out statistically. They've interviewed people, and these are not public interest groups. We can't afford these studies. These are studies sponsored everywhere from Lockheed Martin, who paid the Ethics Resource Center to do studies, to other groups. And what they have found in terms of employee disclosures, they found two things. One, their number one source of fraud detection. If you are serious about accountability, you must protect employees and the right to blow the whistle. Two, over 98% of employees who witness misconduct and fraud never go to the appropriate authorities. The overwhelming majority either keep their mouth shut or just go to a supervisor who tells them to keep their mouth shut. 98%. And that is telling you that in America today, without whistleblower protection, fraud does pay. It's profitable. Most will get away with it. It is no wonder that we get resistance on whistleblower protection. But there is no basis for it. So I'm very, very happy that the National Whistleblower Center will be working hand in hand with the Make It Safe Coalition and every other group to send this message through Congress, through the United States, and get whistleblower protection passed for federal employees. It's an absolute imperative. Thank you very much.